White man is now free 17 years after he went to prison for a crime he didn't commit. CBS News Detroit's Elle Myers spoke with Del Crawford about his time behind bars and his hopes for the future.
Del Crawford tells me he was just trying to help his friend, Tatanisha Joy Williams, when he found her dead in her home in September of 2007. Now, his lawyers say they're not sure exactly what went wrong, but Crawford was convicted of second-degree murder charges.
I kept calling her because we had something to do that day. So I kept calling her, and when I didn't get an answer for a few hours, I went back over.
Crawford was in his early 50s at the time and was sentenced to 20 to 45 years behind bars.
Hell of a time to go to prison.
How did you manage all of that time incarcerated?
You have to do what you have to do. You have no choice but to handle it.
He tells me although there were moments that were challenging, he never lost hope. And in 2020, that optimism began to pay off when the Innocence Project took up his case. But it was another 5 years as lawyers like Jessa Weber worked on proving his innocence.
We had testing done on the victim's fingernails. She had defensive wounds on her hands, which were discovered during the medical examiner's autopsy report. And we tested those fingernails and it revealed a full male DNA profile, which excluded Mr. Crawford.
What do you mean it excluded him? I'm trying to figure out, isn't that like the first step of investigating? If they have defensive wounds, you test under the fingernail to see if they scratched the suspect. So I'm assuming they didn't do that at all?
DNA was the key, and Wayne County prosecutor Kim Worley decided to vacate the conviction.
Being able to go over to the facility where he was housed, Cooper Street Correctional Facility, and walk him out was a very surreal experience.
Crawford says his first meal outside was a coney dog, and he tells me his life outside is all thanks to his team's work.
The work they done was wonderful. I call them my she-rolls. These are my she-rolls here. The whole team at Cooley Law is wonderful.
Now Crawford is filing a civil suit, and his attorneys tell me he'll be getting services in the meantime from the Team Wellness Center. For now, report.
Yeah, you gotta sue him. I mean, that seems right to me. You have to sue the state. You messed up. How in the F do you have DNA under the fingernails, which you would obviously supposed to test, and you don't test it? Let's keep going into this, y'all. Let's keep going into this.
And a wrongfully convicted Detroit man now free after 17 years in prison. He's praising the groups that helped exonerate him. Let's go now to Jamie Sherrod. She is live on Detroit's east side with what led up to the overturned conviction. Jamie.
Yeah, Charlie, Del Crawford was determined to, prove his innocence here. He knew that he was innocent. He maintained his innocence throughout those 17 years in prison. And thanks to the help of Cooley Law School's Innocence Project, as well as Wayne County's Conviction Integrity Unit, he was able to do just that. Now, back in 2007, he was wrongfully convicted of second-degree murder after he discovered the body of Tatanisha Williams inside of her home. He called 911, took her children to their grandmother's house. Now, DNA testing back then wasn't as advanced as it is today. Back then, there were defensive wounds on the victim, but they could not rule out Del Crawford's DNA. In 2024, they got additional DNA testing done, and they found out that the male DNA found on the victim was not Del Crawford's, and that is what led to his overturned conviction.
We follow the evidence wherever it leads. So if we had found any evidence implicating Del Crawford in this crime, it would be included in our analysis. In this case, we found nothing implicating Del Crawford in the crime, only the DNA that conclusively excluded him.
It was wonderful to have the judge acknowledge the time that he wrongfully spent in prison and vacate the conviction. And then being able to go over to the facility where he was housed, Cooper Street Correctional Facility, and walk him out was a very surreal experience.
The work they done was wonderful. Anyone who get this team, I call them my she-rolls. These are my she-rolls here.
Yeah, he's so grateful for the team that helped make him a free man. He did say that, you know, he's free now, but I do want to let you guys know this was not an overnight success. It took 6 years to prove his innocence, but now that he is free, he plans to, you know, hopefully live a successful life is what he told us. He definitely wants to help others, and he wants to reconnect with his family. And we are, of course, here outside of Team Wellness Center. They are helping him re-enter society, you know, making those medical appointments, getting the necessary documents that he will need, and just everything that will help him achieve that success that he is hoping for.
Now, this is thinking about, I wonder if his family held him down, or if his family members believed that he was innocent, or did they just stop talking to him, or just basically write them out of their lives because they just went with what the police said. Imagine that. Imagine you're finally proven innocent, and your family comes back saying that, oh, he was wrong. Spending 17 years in jail, it changes a person. Hopefully he can adjust back to being a free man, because he shouldn't have never been locked up in the first place. But they said DNA evidence was not even up to standard in 2007. So it makes you question how many other people have been wrongfully convicted and are just waiting for someone to prove their case. Let's go over into this. So as we know, Del Crawford, Detroit man, was released from prison on March 24th, 2026 after 17 years for a 2007 murder he didn't commit. So as Joy Williams, he discovered her body, called 911. The original prosecution relied heavily on unreliable witnesses whose story changed multiple times. There was no physical evidence at the time linking Crawford to the crime. And then in October 2024, new DNA testing of the victim's fingernails revealed a mixture from at least 2 other men, and conclusively excluded Crawford as a contributor. They vacated the conviction and dismissing the charges without prejudice on March 24, 2026. He expressed that he maintained his hope throughout his nearly 2 decades behind bars and had no hard feelings towards those involved in his prosecution. I mean, you're not going to say if you hold a grudge against him anyway. This case marks the 10th exoneration secured by the Corley Law School Innocent Project since its inception. Wow. Oh yeah, let's see, compensation laws. Do you get anything if you're wrongfully convicted and you are exonerated? So in Michigan, the Wrongful Imprisonment Compensation Act, signed into law in 2016, provides a specific framework for exonerated individuals to seek financial relief from the state. So exonerees are entitled to $50,000 every year they spend in prison. For periods less than a full year, the amount is calculated by approximately $136 per day. The state must also cover reasonable attorney fees and any costs previously collected from individuals by the state under the State's Correction Facility Reimbursement Act. Awards granted under the WICA are generally not subjected to income taxes. So here are the eligibility requirements. You have to be wrongfully convicted. You have to have a vacated judgment. New evidence must demonstrate that they are not the perpetrator, accessory, or accomplice. And the claim must be filed within 3 years of the date of the conviction was vacated or dismissed. Under the December 2025 Michigan Court Appeals ruling, exonerees may be required to repay the state if they also win a federal rights settlement for the same imprisonment. What? compensation is not awarded for time served concurrently for the separate convictions. Before payments, the state must deduct any outstanding child support or government debts owed to the. See, this is just a lot of. You mean to tell me I can win a lawsuit and I still got to pay them back for something that they did to me? Crazy. But let me know your thoughts on that situation, y'all. Let me know how you feel about it. 17 years behind bars for something you didn't do. You heard what he said. He had to do what he had to do just to survive. Would you be able to adjust? Or I guess you would have to.